WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. We're out on the road. It's all courtesy of our friends at the Maryland Lottery. We are playing the Instant Lottery 50 anniversary scratch-off tickets. These are old. So you remember these from the 70s?
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, any of the old wishbone things. I drove down Fulton on the way here coming from like the zoo, and there's actually a street corner with the old Maryland Lottery logo up. I thought that's cool. We're giving these away. Also, our friends at Window Nation. I got my Window Nation floppy hat. I'm going to put this on. I have all sorts of props here. 866-90Nation. Buy two, get two free all summer long. You also get 2 years of 0% financing if you buy now. 866-90Nation. The rumor is Bill Cole's doing that. And I brought my Raskin Global my mallet to remind me we're going to be at Costas on the 3rd of August. We're going to be celebrating 25 years at WNST. This guy's been bringing players by for 25 years. This guy's been a part of things for 25 years. So you're both cordially invited. Everybody in the city's invited to stop by Costas on the 3rd or Drug City on the 4th. Visit, say hello, have a milkshake, have a crab cake, tell a story, sit down, bring a Get Nasty shirt, bring a Child's Play old school shirt by, do something that's fun. We're at Spirits West. We're over on 2601 Wilkins Avenue. Beautiful west side of town, Chris Pike's side of town. Chris Pike joins us here from Blog and Tackle, longtime NFL insider, and our partner at WNST as well as Baltimore Positive. And Chad Wiestling's here, who has been a friend of mine for, I don't know, going on 30 years, I guess, with Mike Collins and tickets and Maryland Terps and player. How long have you been an agent? I mean, it feels like it's been 20 years, right?
It's going on 25.
25 years.
Yeah, yes.
So tell Pica some players he would know that you've represented over the years, because Pica knows the league well, and Pica worked for the Falcons and the Saints. Who have you had in the league over 25 years?
Yeah, man, it's crazy when you really think about it, because a lot of times I forget because I've had so many.
Who was your first guy?
First guy that was actually C.C. Brown that was drafted out of Louisiana Lafayette. Okay. 6th round by the Houston Texans.
What year?
That would have been.
It's in the 90s now.
No. That was my first guy that was drafted. So that was like 03. And I had before that I had
you represent guys that aren't drafted.
Yeah, I made a living. Made a living starting out. I mean,
right.
Starting out it's hard if you don't have the backing of a big agency. I was getting some scraps of
even then
good players. Yeah. Getting good players.
It was a mature business by then.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
By the time the Ravens got here, being an agent, like Drew Rosenhaus had been on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, around that
Jerry
time.
Maguire's out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was Maguire was what, like 96, 97,
right.
That movie. Yeah, so it was.
I have the most embarrassing story of my lifetime that involves Jerry Maguire. So.
Yeah, right.
It's great.
Everyone always asks me, we're like, when they find out I'm an agent, like, like Jerry Maguire. And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, minus the love story. I was like, but, the ruthlessness and the people trying to steal your clients and all that kind of stuff is true.
Well, I know your girl, so it's a good love story.
Right, right. True. But
she's been a guest on the show more than you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's good to have you out, man, because, you have such wisdom. I guess that's my point. My point is, when it comes time to talk about J.K. Dobbins popping off or Lamar Jackson without an agent or anything that involves the negotiation of agents and players or the media or even me getting thrown out, where I see you at the Super Bowl every single year. Right. You're trying to get your players on shows like mine to give them practice, to get them in front of people, to show what they're about, to show their humanity, to show that they're good people. All that Jerry Maguire tried to do for Rod Tidwell. I mean, literally, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the media row, obviously, at Super Bowl is very important to – obviously the players and the agents, because just as you said, it's to get them out, you get them seen, get them experience. And
this is like Radio Row, isn't it?
Yeah,
they got room here,
pretty much.
Beer, after 5 o'clock, there's beer involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it's
this feels great.
This
feels
is
like
when
I didn't
we
get to go
come
to Radio
you,
Row this year.
Right. When we go to see you, it's the Baltimore market. So
right.
as you know, every market has their their platform. So we try to get the especially I even bring my draftable guys that are coming in to get more experience.
You brought me a kid you said this kid's going to go in the first round. I knew who he was. I mean, you brought me a kid. You're like, this is the Alabama running back. I'm like, cool, man. It's cool knowing Chad, getting great gas, right? He's a nice kid, really nice kid,
You're
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he goes out to Oakland and Vegas. I mean, he's been a part of what was was Del Rio there when he was drafted?
No, Gruden. Yeah,
okay.
Gruden, yeah. Gruden and Mayock was
Man, he has been through. He's had teammates with murder charges, like all sorts of the car, like all that's happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he's the move, the
you
transition.
Can't explain that to him when he's sitting on Radio Row with me, waiting to get drafted. What his eyes are going to see if he's good, if he's healthy, and your guy is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's we all if you follow the NFL, he was the best running back in the league last year. So he was led the league in scrimmage yards and rushing. FedEx Player of the Year, the Jim Brown Award winner. Had a career year last year. So he's
no offense to J.K. Dobbins, but that's a little different.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's a little different to say
100%.
I'm going to get paid. And if he can't get paid. So this is where the weight of this, and Chris, you'll appreciate this. One of the reasons I wanted to have you out is that we talked about Lamar carrying the weight of the Players Association, and whatever he got is going to set what Burrow gets and what anybody else gets, right? In the same way that the first thing Flacco said was, there'll be a guy behind me who gets more. It's the way it is, And Flacco's mindset with Linta was always, as long as I don't have a career-ending injury, somebody will want me, and I'll get paid. I mean, Kirk Cousins people are getting paid. They want quarterbacks, which makes this Lamar thing even crazier, like in regard to that. But in the offseason, that teams weren't bidding for him, and it didn't become that. But your situation's at the crux of Dennis Colazzo, Coons brought him before. We've talked about it all week. That Dobbins popping off, Dobbins holding out, and you mentioned, as well, who's the other running back? Saquon Barkley. There's an issue here, and you stand at the front of it. And much like Lamar negotiating, I've got the guy here negotiating for all running. You're negotiating for J.K. Dobbins if he's the best running back in the league this year.
Everybody wants somebody. Everyone's looking for. Right now looking for what's Josh Jacobs going to do, what's Saquon Barkley going to do, Tony Pollard. Now, Tony Pollard they all three got franchised. So Tony Pollard had,
which is their right? That's part of the deal, right?
Yeah,
how much is Josh going to make this year? What's that going to mean for Josh?
He's going to make a little over $10 million, 1 year deal, fully guaranteed.
So he's making $600,000 a week or like that, or when you're thinking because that's how they get paid bi-weekly, right?
Right.
So the fans don't even know. Like he didn't have checks coming in this time of year, right?
No. There's no,
and you don't have checks coming in, right?
Right.
But if he's got a good agent, you let him know all of this out over the hill, so that Chad can pay his bills and he can pay his play. To counting on the money, the accounting of the money. People just think the money just gets dumped, and sometimes it does. Lamar got $72 million when he walked into the building there, right?
Yeah, that's a nice dump.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Wouldn't we all like to have one of those in our life?
Right, I mean, and then a guy like you has to figure out the right way to deal with it, that if you got Josh 40, 60, 80, whatever that number is going to be for him, right, that he has someone of concern and of integrity wearing a Child's Play shirt, so he's got integrity. But in all sincerity, like these guys look to you. He's looking to you right now because you're his guy and you're everybody's guy, though, and that's a different level of for all the agents that do this.
Yeah. I mean, I heard you guys talking earlier about the running back market, and it's been in the media a lot the past couple weeks. Just because maybe there's nothing else really to talk about at this time, and three of the 4 franchise tags that haven't signed yet are running backs. Yeah. So it is a frustrating time to be a running back, frustrating time to represent a running back, and it's funny because I talked to the Raiders the other day, and they were small talking at the beginning, like, hey, we just saw you were in the your guy was in the media because I had a running back drafted by the Vikings this year. And, of course, they just got rid of Dalvin Cook, so my guy's going to be at least starting number 2, and eventually –
I love that head coach out there, by the way. Good guy.
Yeah.
Vikings, he's going to win.
So, and, of course, my response was, I got to stop representing running backs. And they laughed at you because I was like, maybe I need to just focus on some other positions because, the way the market's going and the way these negotiations are going for running backs, it's tough. And they are the only position – this is all facts that are above or they're second to the bottom, above kickers and punters. It's ridiculous. But they're expected to carry the ball 15, 20, 25, 20, 30 times.
When did that shift occur?
Oh, man.
Because we talked about a different segment of guys that got a lot of money, maybe had 10 or 11 years.
Before the Ravens got here.
Well, even back.
Lydell Mitchell had problems getting paid.
But you mentioned, like, has any been overpaid? I mean, I think when Peterson signed his deal, I think he got a little over $14 million. So there was around that time. Now Christian McCaffrey is, he did his deal in 2020. Okay, that's 4 seasons ago, and he's getting over $16 million a year. And
he might be the last one.
He's like in my negotiations, and even Barkley's, I'm sure we can't even go there because it's like he's the outlier. And I've said this I'll say this to anybody.
There really is a thing called an outlier.
In this position.
That's what we talked about with Deshaun Watson. And I said outlier. I said Chad Wiestling and Jerry Maguire and Lee Steinberg ain't going to talk about outliers.
Right, yeah.
Any outliers. You paid that guy for that job in that cat. That's not an outlier. That's the market.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's the prick I would be if I were an agent. Seriously.
Yeah. I've said this. I'll say this. On here. I say it to anyone. It's like if Josh, and I'm speaking for Josh Jacobs, but if Josh Jacobs played any other position, we'd be setting the market. No question. We'd be getting more than Christian McCaffrey because any other position, you have a great year.
The way Lamar set the market, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now you're right. Now Burrow's going to take over. Lamar, and so's Herbert. Those two are going to, leapfrog. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
But in the running backs,
guess what? If Trevor Lawrence goes out and wins a Super Bowl this year,
who's that?
If the next guy,
the next guy,
the next guy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the next guy is, but but there's going to be a next guy. One of these guys, this kid in Indianapolis that got drafted, maybe he's the guy, right?
Yeah.
But whatever that next guy is, Lamar's going to come in, and I love Lamar's press conference that I wasn't a part of. Thanks, Chad. Not this Chad, the other Chad.
Don't include me in that.
You're not hanging, Chad.
You're there you
Chad.
go.
You're fine. You're my friend, Chad.
Right.
But that he said for now.
Right.
He's good for now.
Yeah.
They're all good for now, right?
Right.
I mean, at some point, it comes time to re-up and it comes time to get paid. And for your guy, it's right now. It really is, right?
Yeah.
And your fan base feels that way too.
Yeah. It's a matter of, like I said, realizing, which everyone does, the value of the running backs. And I've said this to the team, the Raiders, and I'll say, to anybody, is that the funny thing is, and I get it, the team will, they'll lean on the CBA when it's convenient for them, but when it's not convenient for them, they hate the CBA. So here the CBA is like, hey, we didn't create the franchise tag. It is what it is,
Right.
And then we didn't create the franchise tag.
Well, the franchise tag's different when you're a quarterback and it's $40 million
than
if you're a running back and it's 10.
Right. Yeah, and there's a big drop-off.
Well, look, man, Ed Reed went through this. That's the only thing I could compare it to, where Brian Billick would just stand in the media and say, Ed, you're a safety, you're not a corner.
Right.
Or you'd say to a tight end, right?
Right.
Like, who was the tight end that had all the production like the wide receiver? A couple 5-10 years ago, there was one tight end that was such at Flowers, or one of those guys was an outlier to think he's a wide receiver and he won wide receiver money.
That's you. I had to do this. 2016, I represented Muhammad Wilkerson, and he was franchised, All Pro, and he franchised by the Jets. And I literally we had to break it down because he was a 3-4 D end. So 3-4. So he's playing a lot of inside, inside D lineman, and he's playing some defensive end stuff. So they were kind of. What percentage of the snaps was he playing D tackle? Lined up inside. What percentage was he on the outside?
Well, Patrick Queen getting moved by a position is going to cost him a lot of money,
right?
Even if he's great, right?
Yeah.
He's going to get paid,
right?
But he ain't going to get paid like C.J. Mosley got paid.
Right. So that stuff factors in, and that's what as I said about the CBA and things like that, is that teams will use that. Well, he's a 3-4 DN. He's listed as that in the program and starts there every game.
That's not how you used him.
Right, exactly. So you have to, as an agent, sometimes you have to break it down in these situations, like you said, tight end receiver. How many times is, the argument is with receiver, with the tight ends, a lot of them, they flex the tight ends now. So what constitutes?
Well, Travis Kelce would have a point to be trying to get paid like that,
right? Absolutely, 100%. So but he's in the program.
So would Andrews
as a tight
around
end.
here, but Andrews got paid, and
right?
the
traditional tight end, that the big guy that blocks, all the time. It's basketball and grass now, so they get the best athletes, and they want to throw the ball. So it's like I said, that's the argument with receivers, tight ends, 3-4 D ends, D tackles. And there's big money. There's a big money difference.
And the GMs look at it like real estate.
Corners, safeties, nickel corners.
GMs look at it like comps. It's they look at comps. It's like real estate.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the comps of 3-4 guys, and I think the one big change, even over the last 20 years, is Stats Inc. Stats Perform. all of these companies that do a lot of this research and really drill down on numbers. The GMs certainly subscribe to it and use it in negotiations, and the agents have had to do the same thing.
If it's convenient for them.
Correct. And the same thing in your case,
Yeah,
because you've got to make your case to say,
Right.
hey, the comp isn't A and B. Based on his usage or how you're using him, his comps are actually C and D.
Right.
And so that's where his money should be, not necessarily where you think he's slotted. We see him slotted a little bit different way based on the numbers.
Right.
Chad, I know you're a baseball fan, so I just
Oriole
arbitration.
fan. Oriole fan.
Well, that's why I'm wearing orange today.
Right.
That's why I wore orange
Right.
today.
Well, I was going to either wear my Oriole jersey
or your child's play.
So.
I wore Stone. So this is for John Allen out there, my buddy. So we're rocking with you with kicks and
We
all
just
that
need
stuff.
Charm City Devils. We're cool. And SR71. We're good.
I'm working on that. No bigger Charm City Devils fan than Jim Schwartz of Mount St. Joe. So
Right.
must be
Yeah.
a West Baltimore thing or whatever. The baseball comparison I would use, and Chris, I'll bring you into this too, because you went into the locker rooms with these players when they got paid, didn't get paid, got hurt, got all that stuff. Arbitration in baseball it has always been the ugliest thing, right? For a player to go to arbitration where the pissing match is, I think I'm $4 million, you think I'm $3 million. Should we meet at 3.5 and stay out of court, or are we going to go fight, right?
Right.
And when they fight, yeah, you struck out too much, you hit too many double plays, you're old, you're fat, you're slow, whatever it is, right? That the player gets pissed. At what point from the football side, and I really don't know this since I had my press pass taken away, but there's a point where how pissed is your player? Obviously, J.K. Dobbins, right, is a little off the edge to not be out there playing. That's very unorthodox, right?
Right.
Whatever you would
Right.
say about that, that's not how everybody's playing.
Let's
right?
just say I was a little when I read it being local, I was a little shocked and surprised. I was just
Well,
like,
he's got an agent giving him advice.
Right.
And that I've asked out loud, like, hey, kid, I don't know who's giving you advice, but this should have been the advice all along, that the minute your knee got ripped up and you got your head together, 2 weeks later, your agent should have sat down and said, you're not getting paid this time around, and this is what you're going to have to do, including going to minicamp pissed off, and including limping through last year and all that. But the agent would then say, they love you. Mm-hmm. They're gonna run you like a dog this year, and they're going to take the pressure off Lamar, and we're going to get you paid. But then his agent's saying to him, Wiestling's in a bar in West Baltimore trying to get the player of the year paid. And can't get, so I don't even know what his agent could give him a hug because you're trying to give your guy a hug. Right? Including yourself because your money's on the line too here.
Right.
A $50 million deal would change your life too for Josh,
helps,
right? Yeah, I mean, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing your damnedest.
I'll be able to buy a couple crab cakes.
But Dobbins' agent's doing his damnedest. The trainer's doing it. Everybody's working hard. And I don't know, maybe Dobbins is pissed off about the trainer out there. Maybe he's pissed off about the turf down and he's rightfully could be pissed off. But how do you, Jerry Maguire, how do you calm that down a little bit and try to keep Josh's head together? Because everything you ever promised him, if you do this, now it's still not there. That's hard. Man.
It is hard. I think it comes down to just the type of young man that the personality and that the young man is. And Josh, I'm speaking for Josh. Josh is very level-headed. He one thing with he and I am with all my guys, very transparent. So it's like, I don't hide anything. I'm straight shooter, and I'm straight.
Are you of the mindset if you put shit on Twitter, you put me on Twitter too? It's our money. Is that Jerry Maguire? Is that a part of this? That not just when you have these players on the field and off the field, but everything they do, it makes your phone ring too. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there comes a point where, no offense, I'll go back to being single, but there were girls I just I can't. I can't. I have client. I can't. No, I can't do. I had friends. I can't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there's a point where players, as a guy who, and I'll get into this in the second segment with you, with the importance of agents and what I've been through doing this show for 30 years. Players showing up drunk on time. Like all unreliable, just being at the center.
Yeah.
If you say it, mean it, all that. Mm-hmm. When you say you have level-headed, that first talk happens with you with a 17, 18-year-old young man, right?
Yeah.
Kids,
I mean,
right?
You
have to play
college.
this out. If this kid is Rod Tidwell, and he's worth $100 million, and your guy is,
right?
How are we going to handle this when it's not good because it's not good for you right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, from the very beginning when you're recruiting the kids, usually it's when they get in college, unless you're really playing the long game, which is high school, which I don't. That's a waste of time in my opinion because you don't. You'll know by the sophomore, junior, senior year if they're going to be playing in the NFL.
Right.
But my philosophy is just be honest with them from the get go. And this is who I am. This is what I can do. Either I'm not for everybody. Not everybody's for me. And, go with kind of your gut feeling. Both sides got to go with their gut feeling and make the choice. And then if I'm lucky, if to work with them, then me as a person, I got to stick with what I said. Right. I can't, I'm not, listen, I know when to pat them on the back. I've been around, and I played, so I've been around the game for my whole life. Played, coached, worked in the NFL. I've been doing this for going on 25 years. So football's been my, pretty much my life. So. And you
feel that when I sit with you. I don't know if Chris knew you well, but when you sit with you for 5 minutes, you're like, all right, this guy, I think that's why this is such a gift to have you on the show. I don't let the kiss your ass. But just, I like the wisdom you bring.
Right.
And I like the straight, I would let my kid be represent, but just in a general sense because you bring it like this.
Right, yeah.
And this is the way you have to bring it, and you're on the phone with the Raiders trying to get your kid paid, and everybody's trying to have integrity about this, but you're in a tough spot, man.
So what I mean by being, just transparent is what I will do is, if I get texts from the teams or, if I'm communicating or every player thinks they're underpaid. Every player thinks they're superstars. And that's not, it's not always accurate. So when, and listen, not everybody's going to like you, meaning every team or every organization, especially coming into the draft. So what I do is like, listen, don't kill the messenger. Here, you want to see the text? You want to see the email that I got? Like, they don't like you? Okay, we can disagree with them, but let's move on because we don't got to find one team to like you, so that's just being honest with the guys, being straightforward with them. And like I said, they're either going to like it or they're not. And if that's the case, that's when a lot of times the players will, they'll start listening to other people that are kissing their asses or telling them what they want to hear, and then they make changes or whatever. So, but that's you win some, you lose some. But I've gotten to a point with so many years in the business is that my guys are, I like to say they're kind of blue collar guys, like I am. So it's just like they're not real.
Well, you spend too much time together to have it not be harmonious, right?
Right.
It's too important.
Right.
It's you're the most important person in the kid's life. That's not his wife or mother, coach, whatever. But like, you're the person that's looking out for serving their interests.
Yeah, they have to trust you. They have to trust me. So that's the key, and I say that to everybody. Like, trust is not earned, or trust is not just given. You have to earn it. So if we're starting to work together and they start to kind of see, because you got to remember these kids, just as you said, Nestor, Josh was, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. Josh, he was 19 years old when he came out of Alabama. I didn't realize that, because we have to train them for the draft. So we have to go get them a training facility. We have to get them rental cars. We have to get them a place to stay, whatever. I didn't know. I didn't really realize it. I knew he was young. I thought he was 20, but I couldn't get him a rental car. I'm like, what do you mean I couldn't get you a rental car? He's like, he's 19 years old.
Got to get him an Uber.
Right. Well, they didn't have Uber back then. I don't think. Maybe they did. But I was like, you're shitting me, right? You're 19? He's like, yeah, I turned 20 next month.
Well, Lamar couldn't drink in the league when he got in the league, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Now, over that period of time, you talk about being transparent with your players.
Right.
When you're having some of those really tough conversations with GMs, we talk about that back and forth. I'm not saying Josh specifically, would say your career.
Yeah.
How much of those tough conversations and maybe some of the things like we talked about comps back and forth, how much of that do you relay to the player? Do you kind of selectively say, how much do you hold back? Because some of those conversations with GMs can be very difficult. What is that like from the agent standpoint of managing the young man that you're working with on the other end? Because you don't want to give him so much, this team's really down on me, but how much can you really tell him?
Well, I think, with that scenario you just mentioned, I think it's, once again, I'm the way I handle it is I'm totally transparent with comps because, like a guy, no disrespect to him, real good football player, but like J.K. Dobbins, I want him to see the comps because I don't know what's in his head if he thinks he's going to be getting a lot of money. Well, no, this is kind of the market. Number one, this is the market for running backs and the top guys, and there's a big drop off. So if he's thinking,
and he's also looking and saying, Roquan Smith just got this,
Right,
and Marlon
right.
Humphrey's making that,
Right, so
and
you gotta
Ronnie
stick-
Stanley's making this, and you're like, but you're just a running back.
Yeah, you gotta stick.
No, just a running back.
Yeah, yeah.
You're at the bottom. Well,
Right.
why am I at the bottom? Look at my
Right.
knees. Look at what I do.
Yeah, right.
Look at the value. I score touchdowns. I dance.
Right.
I'm the one on TV. I'm the one spiking the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're the drummer. You're not the.
And that's
you're the keyboard
that's
player.
The
You're
problem.
not the singer.
That's
you
the
know?
problem with the current situation of running backs, which I'm arguing.
I think any person that ever
team.
ran the ball would argue,
right,
make the argument
but it's
for you, right?
it's like I don't know. I always say that maybe I'm old school, but it's like you can't the running back. You can't establish a good passing game if you don't have a running game.
Right.
And you can't establish a good running game if you don't have a passing game. If you're one dimensional, then they're just going to sit back and they're just going to play the pass. The D ends are going to pin their ears back, come after you, and kill you. And they're just going to sit extra DBs and they're going to be back there just playing the pass. But if you have a good running, and if you just have the running game, which every team seems to be trying to get away from, then you just put 8 men in a box. They know kind of what happened to the Raiders last year. They knew, they have they had Devontae Adams, who's a great wide receiver, but you're giving the ball to Josh, and he's doing what he's doing. They're going to load the box. So, but what they did which was great, is that if you can establish the run, then they can't put 8 in the box. Then that opens up play actions, boots, all that kind of stuff, and now the defense isn't sure what's going on. That's football 101 in my head.
Right. Yeah.
So some of
And
these
in the
teams,
fourth quarter with the lead, you're going to get the ball a ton to close the game.
Right. It's funny. A coach, NFL coach, sent me this the other night. It was a piece recently by Pete Carroll, and he says for Seattle, head coach of Seattle, how important the running back is, and that was one of the main things. To finish a game, a receiver's not finishing the game for you. You need a running back.
Well, he should know because he lost a Super Bowl.
right.
Good
point.
I have a history. Chad Wiestling's here, NFL agent to the Stars in East Baltimore, and Chris Pike, of course, blog and tackle as well. We're at Spirits West. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. Giving away these scratch-off tickets out here in West Baltimore in the homeland of Chris Pike and Mount St. Joe. Also, our friends at Window Nation, 866-90Nation. You buy 2, you get 2 free all summer long. Really enjoying my windows right now because it's summertime, and I have beautiful windows. And this time last year, we had windows that didn't go up. They were all wood. They were 38 years old. Right. Everything goes up. Everything goes down. All the screens work. The cat's happy. Everybody's happy. Barks is happy. Before I let you go, and I want to get Chris more in this because the Lamar thing, you and I talked about Lamar for 2 years. You and I talked about Lamar once.
Yeah,
I bothered you late. Maybe it was in March.
It was about a week or two before he actually, signed his deal.
Well, was it that late?
Yeah,
It was late March then. Okay. So the difference between what that conversation looked and sounded like then versus what it sounds like now. Chris, I think I've had you on maybe once since Lamar signed. This whole arc of the drama, just take all the off the field, I'm asking for a trade. I'm going to embarrass the coach at the owner. All the things that happen, right? And then nobody made a play for him. Nobody put him on a jet and flew him anywhere. There was no negotiation we know about. There was not a lot of interest. Just how it played out, if you would have written the story of what Deshaun Watson's offseason looked like from if you were his agent, despite all of his problems on jurisprudence, all of that owners were lining up to give him a lot of money. Probably not guaranteed, but going to give him a job, going to give him a seat, going to change his life, going to pay him, going to get him paid, whatever that means, right? This has been a crazy year and a half, that the level of confidence around the league other teams didn't have in Lamar to say you're available and all I got to do is give up Anthony Richardson and a safety and I can and pay you.
Right.
I'll do that. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Nobody believed in Lamar, and that pisses off YouTube and that's fine. But these guys out here believe in Lamar, and they have to warm him up and fuzzy him all up and bring him back in, because I do think if I'm a player and he wasn't even on the bus in Cincinnati, right, and he just got a $72 million, and if I'm the player, I don't know. As a fan, as a Ravens fan, I'm not anti-Lamar. I hope they win. I hope there's a parade coming right down Wilkins Avenue, right? Everybody's got. I know what that does for a city. I know what. I'm not telling people to give John Angelos money, but I know what the Orioles winning's good, not just for me or you. It's good for the city.
Right.
It's good for the city. So Lamar winning is something I want. But this has been, and me getting thrown out, not even being able to ask questions. I mean, it's just been such a bizarre period and even giving Odell Beckham all that money. Right. If you were Odell Beckham agent, you probably would have thought DaCosta's going to be the one that brings me a bag.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, you deal with these humans.
Right.
This has been a wild mix for
Remember
the
what I
franchise.
said? It only takes one team.
Yes.
Remember
Don't
I
have to
said
be
that?
32. It's just got to be one.
There's just got to be one. So everyone's like, there's no way he's going to get $15 million. And then sure enough, he got it.
There's always going to be one.
There's going to be that one.
Well, just on the
Good
league
for him.
issues,
Good
I mean,
for him.
for both of you, I mean, just if we're at the Super Bowl and we did Radio Row together, which we would have done had I been there, we would have had a take on Lamar. We had takes on Lamar all the way around. Now it just feels like Happy Valley, right?
Yeah.
He got paid. They're a little extended over the cap, right? I mean,
Right.
they're not. I mean, there's no illusion that J.K. is going to get a bag here,
Right,
or
yeah.
anybody's
Right.
getting a bag here. The bag's gotten, and we learned
Right.
that from Flacco for all those years, right?
Yeah.
This has been a wild scene for the franchise, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, and I guess the question I would ask you is when you've had a tough negotiation with a club and eventually you get to that kumbaya moment, not say asking for a specific player, but in general, how does that relationship sort of – is it just saying at the end of the day you shake hands, hey, it was just a business negotiation and we move on? Is there some sort of – do you have to get them a case of beer? What we're talking in general, but what does that take to sort of make sure that everybody kind of moves along and it's a little bit happier, even though maybe you've had that really tough negotiation?
Right. I think the longer you've been in the business, you understand that it is a business on both sides. I've dealt with, like, earlier in my years, when I was getting this, I used to take things to heart. A little bit more than I do now. It's like, oh my goodness, like, what do you mean? Like, you told me this, and now you're reneging on it. Like, it would crush me, and then I feel like I'm not doing a good job, or I let my player down, or whatever. And it's like, and then you kind of get your feet wet a little bit, and you learn the business. And I see that even with GMs, like the young GMs. Some guys, I'll just be honest, they're in over their heads, I think, and they,
And that's an interesting point for you to make after 25
because a lot of
years.
these GMs now are like, early 30s, and some guys are not even football guys. They're analytic guys and Ivy League guys, which, no offense to them, I mean, they're smart guys, don't get me wrong, but it's like, then you have the old timers that are bitching because these young Ivy Leaguers are getting the jobs. And
What do you say, baseball scouts sue the league?
Yeah.
I mean, because they got frozen out, right?
Yeah.
So you say that about the competency level of all of it. In your case, Josh, people will be watching this because you're a Child's Play fan, but also represent Josh. If there comes a point where wherever the level of negotiation is, 20, 30, 40, this, whatever the bag is, whatever this, that he can be happy, you can be happy. Is he at the point, or because of your experience and wisdom, to say, dude, the Raiders might be the one to pay you, right? I mean, I don't know that Lamar had his mother, agent. I don't know who was around him saying, you do know eventually that you're going to be in Baltimore, right?
Right,
like,
yeah.
We're going to screw around here. We're going to F around. You're going to fake your trade. Because I don't think you would have told him to put a trade out on the internet and then go back into the Hobbit.
Right.
You wouldn't want your guy saying, I want out of Vegas, and then you got to go back, get the money, and then smooth it. That's not good. That's saying, I want a divorce, no, I want to be married.
Right.
Whoa. In your case, with this far along, this 25 years of wisdom that you have, that you impart to your client that Lamar didn't have, for better or for worse, about hey, man, the Raiders eventually, you might go win a Super Bowl, and eventually they're going to give you that $32 million, whatever that, I don't even know what the market is, but eventually they're going to be the ones for you.
Yeah, it's kind of it becomes a kind of an unnecessary game. It's just like just what you said. Oh, I want out of here. I didn't want to trade. I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to show up.
I felt that way about the Ravens. You're going to give the kid $52 million. Give it to him at Christmas. You make a nice holiday for him and get his ass on the bus to Cincinnati, and maybe we win a Super Bowl last year.
Right,
if you're really going to just go give him all that money, he probably would have taken that in December. I mean, that's how I felt. I felt like, man, this were a lot of hurt feelings over the eggnog.
And then you have the coaches. Then you have the other team, or the other side of it. The teams, they play the game like, he should be here. He should be at OTAs. Well, first off, OTAs are not mandatory.
Right, they're voluntary.
Yeah, but
we all know what the deal is.
Mandatory, voluntary.
I lost my media pass last year over OTAs.
Right.
Chad Steele said because I didn't go to OTAs, I said your quarterback didn't come to OTAs.
Right.
You're taking my press credentials.
Right. Yeah.
Voluntary in quotes. We all know that.
Right.
Yeah.
But they try to play on it in the media.
Yes.
And at the press conferences. Well, we really need him here.
I send a reporter out there, and the only thing the reporters do is do head count.
Right.
They do roll call.
Right.
That is the job of Twitter on those days in every camp in the league is who's here, who's not.
Right.
And if you're not, is your wife making a baby? Are you on the beach? Are you on Instagram? It's become,
Oh, yeah. And people were following with the social media. That's as an agent, that's what worries, I would say, me a lot, is because everybody's watching what you do. So, the thing with the players nowadays is put out cryptic tweets, whether
vague book.
Yeah. So and then that just gets the pot stirring amongst the Twitter people.
Here it was SpongeBob SquarePants. Who would have known?
Right. So it's
that was
and I try to tell the teams, it's like, hey, I can control what I do, but I can't really control what all my players do. If they're going to put out a cryptic tweet, I may not approve or want them to do that, but. They're 22, 23 years old.
And
it's
changed. I mean, 20 years ago, you had to talk to a newspaper guy. You had to talk to a radio guy in order to get that sort of information not so cryptically out. Now, agents, and they've got their own PR people and everything else. That's been the biggest change. The club used to own the message 99% of the time.
And that was your world when you worked.
We owned the message 99% of the time. Now the player owns the message. If he's not happy, he's going to say something, and now we've got to react as a club to it.
Right.
And I think that's a huge change in negotiations. It's a huge change for relationships between coaches and players. And
but it
players
offers
and
a
players.
transparency to the public that is unfortunate for the agent.
Right.
In many cases.
Oh, yeah.
In many cases.
Yeah, because people have talked about this for years. It's kind of frustrating and hard to believe, but it's like, the teams will put out they'll put out their stuff and they follow what every player writes and says. It's funny, they have people actually that's their job is to follow the players' accounts and
follow the drama literally. It's just a soap opera.
Yeah, so the teams will try to indirectly, as I will say that I don't know if I necessarily have proof of this, but through social media channels or the media will try to paint the picture like he's the bad guy because he's asking for all this money and how dare he ask for a lot of money or whatever. And so then the fans, then you start hearing the fans, oh yeah, I work a hard job, or
we're crying for Josh.
Making
$10 million. This year.
Right.
Let's not cry.
And
for
we
him.
all grew up in a blue collar city like this, where people, are 9 to 5ers and you carry the lunch pail.
Right.
And then
So
I'm
how
going to
can
be
you
the
feel
guy
bad?
from here on
So how can you
talking
feel
about
bad?
how much money Steve Bisciotti and John Angelos have made and what they just got from the bar here and from every brick in the city to keep the teams here. That the owners are the one. You're going to get Mark Davis's and Roger Goodell's TV money that we're chasing around on YouTube right now. And the kid that's actually putting his knees on the line, anybody that saw Hamlin, anybody that knows head trauma, all the stuff that I used to talk about on Radio Row before they threw me out, legitimate things, real life things that you'll never see on Ravens.com. You'll never see on NFL.com. And it's a little day. We'll get into the media part of this. Are you done? You got more?
No, I was going to ask a question again, and I'm going to take the 32 current GMs out of the mix. In previous years, was there a general manager or general managers that to you either enjoyed or people that you knew across the table, hey, there's a good story about a GM, hey, he's a straight shooter, whatever that is. Right. People that you like to deal with when you were making or trying to make deals and trying to get your players placed.
Yeah, which is my personality, the ones that I got along with, still get along with, even though they're fading out, are
guys that played. I knew this.
Guys that played, or kind of, and then that were straight shooters. Like I appreciate more when a GM would call me like, Chad, the guy can't play, or this, and I'd be like, hey, I disagree with you, but I hear you. Thanks for your honesty.
That's your scouting opinion,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Because if the scout thought he could play, or the coach thought he could play, he'd want him in.
Right.
The Raiders don't want to play without Josh Jacobs.
Right. No.
They want him.
But the game is they're going to make it sound like, okay, the young guys had a great offseason. It's going to be more time for them, that deal. And my discussion with the Raiders, and should be with every running back with every team is, okay, forget the market. The market is, we can waste our time talking about that, till we're blue in the face and disagree on that. But how valuable is he to your team? To your, Josh Jacobs, I'm speaking of Josh Jacobs, touched the ball 49.9% of the offensive plays for the Raiders. The next guy, Devontae Adams, at 13%. He's your freaking offense, right? So and you're going to pay him right now on the tag. He'd be the 8th highest paid player with the tag at $10 million 8th highest paid player on the Raiders, and he's your best player. Now, I got him to say the other day he's their best offensive player, and Joshua wasn't a one-hit wonder. I mean, he's had a great 4 years.
Yes.
So it's not like he had but it's that's the for the running backs or the devalued positions, which really is just the
and the
running backs.
comparable really is McCaffrey.
Yeah. Well, and like I said,
and Emmitt Smith or something from 30 years
And as
ago,
I said, it's to find that team. Obviously, unfortunately, contractually, in the way the CBA is set up, running backs, they get
Is
screwed.
he stuck another year?
Well, they can franchise him up to 3 years.
Yep. And that money just keeps the escalators.
But and it's not.
So he would get 10, 12, and 14. So he would
10,
wind up
10,
with
12, 17. So it's not
10,
quarterback
12,
money.
17. So he would get 39 over 3.
Yeah.
All right. And you're obvious. I don't ask you what you're seeking, but
Right.
but McCaffrey's gotten already 48 over the last 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
yeah.
in the bank.
Right. Yeah, and he's got more. And as I said with McCaffrey, and he's a weapon. He's a great player when healthy. He's missed 23 games in his career.
Availability is the best ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Because once again, the team will use, your guy's always hurt. Well, then what else do you got?
Right.
And of course I hear with every player, but I hear they take a pounding. They more chance. I'm like, hold on. Everybody takes a pounding. And, of course, this year, no disrespect to Hamlin, but it was like a guy freaking died on the field this year. Like, it's a risky game. It's risky. So your quarterback, you can give him $40 million a year, $50 million a year. He could blow out his knee. If he gets hit, he can be done. So don't give me the injury stuff and it's a rough game and a rough position and whatever. Like, come on, it's football.
Do you ever see a day where, like baseball, do you ever see a day where guaranteed contracts are more the norm? Because we know the league has fought it tooth and nail. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, much different situation. But in those negotiation discussions, do you ever see that? Do you see that starting to turn that way?
Well, it should be. I mean, it should be. And
it probably should have always been.
It should have always been. And it's it comes down to the Players Association. And, whether it's a good union or bad, I don't know. I have my opinions. I'll keep to myself. But the problem is the owners know that they got them. The only way to
they have monopoly.
Yeah.
No offense to your XFL.
The only way that the union in that situation can force some things is they don't play, and the players will never not want to play because they need the money.
Yep.
They'll never strike like they did in 82
give me the
or
Le'Veon
87.
Bell thing, right?
Right.
That would be the most modern. Antonio Brown, I guess, a little bit. I mean, these were outliers.
Right,
outliers,
yeah.
but Le'Veon Bell was the one guy that said no. And I guess that didn't work out great for him in the end, right? I mean, but the notion that your guy's not going to play for $650,000 a week or whatever that number is probably not realistic. Any more realistic than Lamar not playing for $38 million or whatever that crazy tag 32 number, whatever that number was.
Right.
Like we were like, do the Ravens want to do 5 months of pissing with their quarterback? I would think that the Raiders or any other team want to do that with their running back, who's 49.9% of their offense. Your guy's been a much higher road about. I don't think there's any threat that he's not going to come and play football. To your point, you've just said out loud, it's a lot of money. He needs the money, and he loves the game.
I mean, he's a little bit more fortunate than other guys because was a first-round draft pick, and he's got.
If he had done this as Terrell Davis, it would be a different experience, right?
What do you mean?
As a 6th-round draft pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I mean,
I will say, and you brought this up earlier. I wanted to say about the union and how they get paid. This is one thing I think the union did right. Started last year. Before, the players used to get paid every week. For the 17 weeks, including bye week. Now it's 18 weeks, including the bye week. So these players would get just their salary, per those 18 weeks, right? So the guys making the 20, 30, 40 million dollars, they're okay. But the rookies, the young guys that are making the $700,000 or
what's the league minimum? What's your guy? One of your free agents, he makes it.
Right.
What's he going to get this year?
I think it's
700,000.
705. I think it's 705 for year one.
So it's $50,000 a week.
Yeah,
it's $50,000. It's $50,000
right.
a week.
So think about it. You're a college kid. that's a lot of money coming in. You know whether
Well, it's
whether,
$50,000 a
whether
week. It's a lot once you get the sixth check. Now you got $300,000.
Right.
Now you got
Right.
taxes. You
Yeah,
got
yeah. Every player doesn't realize Uncle Sam. The more you make, the more they're taking out. That's always a fun discussion that I have.
That's a wild number when they look at
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Right?
They're like, "What's this? Like, what do you mean?"
It was a wild number when I worked at the News American. I looked at it. I'm like, $3.33 an hour. I mean, what's FICA? What is all that?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was a lot when it was nothing for me as a kid.
right.
I can't imagine looking at my $50,000 paycheck and seeing $26,000 and saying, "What happened to the other 49%?"
I get the call and they're like, they didn't pay me what they owe me. They're stealing from me. What's this like? No, no. Well, yeah, they kind of are stealing it, but it's not the team. It's it's the government.
Government's
Or
gonna
the
get to
state
that.
of California at 13.6% state tax or whatever it is. Like, man, that's crazy.
Is that game check stuff too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you play in California. Look, the Ravens will make less playing in Chargers.
Yeah.
And they keep their
See, this
accounts
is the
very
reason
busy.
I bring guys like you on because, this is all the stuff.
So that's why players
this
are
is all the stuff
always wanna-
calculating in a 23-year-old kid's head. Because beyond girls and the playbook and their
Right.
parents and their money and their whatever they want to spend their money, this would eat at anybody, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Poor
absolutely.
kid, you finally
That's
get
why
paid,
players.
right?
I mean, they're getting a little bit more. I think more educated. And I always try to, warn them and educate them as much as I can. But it's like that's why everyone wants to play Florida teams, Tennessee, Texas, these Vegas, these things. And that was one thing that I'm very proud of. And they actually talked about it on Monday Night Football. Because I was the only one when Josh was drafted in 2019, first round. Well, that was the last year they were going to play in California. So I did it. I deferred his. He got. I think he got. Forget what his signing bonus was. Maybe like $4 million. A lot of money. But they deferred his payments, and I deferred it till the next year. Not all of it. Like he got him a couple, $100,000, but deferred it all when they were gone. They were in Vegas.
So was it 7%?
So he saved. We saved him $400,000 in taxes by pushing his money to and that's because listen, I have a good accountant that works with my guys.
Right, of course.
And it was just the timing.
Leonard
was,
Raskin will appreciate that, man. I'll tell you right now. I love
so
that
it was
story.
just the work perfectly.
Well, one of
that
the things we
team's
talked about in
leaving
this
from
offseason-
California to Las Vegas that has no state tax.
Hey, one of the things we talked about in this offseason was, hey, if Lamar hits the lottery, he's going to go play in Florida because he'll make just a ton more money
yeah.
there, no matter what the situation is. He's going to make more money.
Yeah.
People are like, Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville. Better there than the Chargers, and Herbert will have to deal with that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of money.
Dude, the Beatles and the Stones left their homeland over this issue back in the day. We're going to do rock and roll.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
second.
Oh, please.
And that's and I think that's a great point where they talk about now these guys are getting paid close to year round, right?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't finish it. So
Yeah.
instead of
Go
the
ahead.
18 weeks, now last year was the first year they spread it out over 36 weeks. So now they get paid from week 1 in September to up to May, just end of May.
Oh, they get paid at
So
the
they
end of
spread
the
it out.
season,
They
not
don't
the
get the
beginning.
as
Okay.
biggest checks,
Right.
obviously, but they spread it
So
out.
hold on, if you're a player and you got cut in week 8, would you still be getting paid? No.
No. Then they
if-
give you the
but
balance
if,
and so.
But if you're Marcus Peters, just as an example, who ran out of contract, or Calais Campbell, the Ravens still paid those players in March, April, and May.
Yeah.
I thought the minute they cleaned out the locker, January
Right.
11th
Yeah,
or 12th,
no, they're still-
that's
yeah.
the way it
They're
used to
still
be.
getting paid.
Yeah, it
When
used
did
to
that
be.
change?
last season, 2021.
So it was during
2020.
the plague.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a real media member anymore. That's why I probably don't know these things. Chad
So that's
Wiestling
one
is
good
here.
thing that the union has done
Right.
for the players because they're not all
Right.
struggling because that was a stress on agents because what happens, the young guys, they're out, listen, I don't handle their money. It's their money. I don't know half the stuff they're doing.
But they get broke. They come to you for
Right.
a loan.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, hey, I don't have any money. Can I borrow some money? It's like, what happened to all your money?
Hold on a second. How many times in your career, 25 years, have you had that call? From a player?
A lot. How many times I've lost money because of helping players and they don't pay you back? The ones that still play, they'll pay you back, but then the ones that maybe get cut or something, see you later. So I've thrown away a lot of money.
Just trying to keep a kid out.
Just helping them out.
Trying to keep a kid whole.
Yeah.
How many of those players you've worked with over the years that you still have a relationship with? I mean, because guys change ages, things happen.
yeah,
but
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But generally, do most of your guys have you if you text them, hey, they'll text you right back, hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Everything good?
yeah. Like I said, I've been fortunate to work with some great guys, and me personally, I wish that it's probably on me. I'd be more involved reaching out to them because sometimes I catch myself. Obviously, holidays and birthdays and stuff, I'll text them or vice versa.
Because people don't realize it is
human.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a friendship, but it's a relationship that's closer, almost in case in families.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah,
It's very much so.
right on the guy's hip basically for years.
Yeah. Like as I
that-
said earlier, it's a trust thing. So it's an agent wears many hats depending on their situation. I mean, it's brotherhood, it's friend, it's therapist, it's father figure. A lot of guys don't, they're raised, they don't have fathers in their lives, so they look up, I'm at an age now where I could be their father. So,
Okay, a little bit sober. All right, it's all right.
right. So,
you saw The Who in '82, so you're old enough.
right. So, it's, I wear many hats, and, like I said, that's the positive, the things rewarding part of the job that I like. So I do stay in touch with a good many of them, and once again, as much as they want to be involved with me, and like I said, I wish I could be more of them, but it's just a never-ending cycle. So I get more clients, and something else is coming up, and it's just like,
right.
I try to do the best to stay in touch with a lot of guys.
I think that's a great point because people don't realize how much. It's not just the guy on the phone with the general manager. There is a lot more that goes on. Right.
Families, moms. I'm
the
very close to
posse.
moms.
Everything that has to do with that particular player.
Wives, girlfriends.
I wouldn't want your
kids.
gig. I said that to you last time. I know.
Girlfriends of girlfriends. Oh, I got stories for you. I can tell you.
We'll tell those in the next time. We're at Spirits West. We're out here with the delicious crab cakes in West Baltimore. We're at 2601 Wilkins Avenue. A lot of UFC action out here, and they got the horse races on in the front. Lots of Notre Dame in the back. Big Orioles fans here. Rick's going to be joining us in a little bit. I'm going to be having the crab cake out here as well. Chad Wiesling's going to stick around for another segment. Pikey, you always were like, that segment was kind of long. It was 26 minutes. This segment's 52 minutes. Is it long enough for you?
It was good.
Maybe you like talking to me more than talking to you.
Yeah, I do.
Well, one of the things about getting thrown out of the radio row after 27 years, this has felt like a total radio row conversation.
Yeah.
Even the way you're sitting back off the set, it feels like I'm going to have Chris Visser over here bringing over Jack Youngblood or something.
What I like about this in particular is because I've worked around general managers. Worked around one of the XFL, NFL, and so I ask them these kind of questions on the other side of dealing with agents.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always get a chance to sit down with an agent and say, what does that relationship look like from the other side? And then really important based on what's going on here in Baltimore, that it is a business that the fans get wound up about a lot of this, but at the end of the day, you've got to kind of keep that to a business relationship. It's what it is, and when it's done, you sign the contract and you move on. And I think that's important for the fans to realize because sometimes they get caught up. It's no different than the coaches saying by Tuesday, we're done with last week.
Mm-hmm.
We're done with the
Dude,
last
the Lamar
contract.
thing here over the last year and a half, we all need a towel.
Right.
It was just.
Right. But
what you're going through is intense. It's intense for the Raiders fans, right?
Yeah.
It's intense for Josh, his family, fans of his, but all that. But the Lamar thing here went on forever as the quarterback,
Right.
and
Imagine
the people in Cincinnati better hope it doesn't work that way.
Right.
There,
Imagine one. I don't know when we're taking a break, but imagine, and you joke about this as well. Imagine the Lamar. This is Baltimore, and it went on forever. But I'll take a step further. Imagine if it was like the New York media. And I had to deal with that, and the Raiders teased me about it because I had to deal with that in 2014, 2015, 2016. Every day I'm getting calls from the Post, the Daily News, New Jersey media, and the national media. Every day they're going to get what's going on. I swear it took at least 2 years off my life.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
So my point is, the Vegas, it's like a cakewalk. Like no one even calls me from the media. Like it's
Can't ask
Well,
for
good.
anything better.
I got an exclusive here for Chad Wiestling.
There you go. So-
agent to Josh Jacobs in the Stars. Chris Pike is blog and tackle. He's representing Mount St. Joe. I'm Dundalk. This is where East Baltimore meets West Baltimore. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I hope we had some winners here. It's a throwback to the lottery's first ever scratch off. I'll have these. We were going to do Hollywood Casino next week. We've booted that back into August. August. We're going to be at Fadley's next Thursday morning doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by our friends at Window Nation as well. One more segment. And we didn't get any rock and roll into that segment. When you go, it's no business. It's going to be all pleasure
That's
next
fine.
segment. So I'm gonna let my hair down long, let my rock and roll hair
There you
out,
go. There
and
you
do
go.
all that. Well, we're very appreciative of Rick and everybody here over at the Spirits West. Come on by, have a beer, watch a ball game, enjoy the Notre Dame action here, and they love the birds here. So speaking of the birds, they gave me the bird when I couldn't get the peacock this channel the other day. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore positive.